Hello, friends of Sudoku, and welcome to an extra and a special puzzle. This was sent to me by a subscriber to the channel, Mr. Julian Locke. It is of his creation, and Julian is a very good setter. So I have to tell you, I solved this puzzle already, and you will see that it is very easy at the beginning, and then it gets more complicated, and at the end I will probably resort to using pencil marks to explain to you what is going on, because it has a very nice little trick towards the end. But it will be difficult for me to explain without using pencil marks at that juncture. But let's see how we can begin with this puzzle. It looks very easy at the beginning, as I said, the one block's over here and the one block's down here, so we are going to have a 1 here. Also, look at the 2, 4, 3 here, they block here. So we need a 2, 4 and a 3 here. The 3, of course, makes this a 2, 4. But that is beside the point. What's important is that these now cannot be 2, 3 and a 4, they must be a 6, 8 and a 9. There's an 8 and a 9 blocking here, so here is a 6 already. And that is, for the time being, as far as we can get with these squares here. So let's move to box number 4. The 9 blocks across, and this 9 blocks up, so here's a 9. We can already see now that a 9 must go here or here, and also here and here, remember? And 8 must go here and here, and also here and here, remember that as well. But there is another way to look at this, and that is to look at the 1, 5 here and the 1, 5 here. They block these squares. So a 1 and a 5 must go here, along, of course, with the 2 and a 4 that we were missing up here. It is worth noticing that we only have a single 4 in the grid so far. But that is not going to hold us back for long. After the discussion of box 6, let's look at this 6 blocking over. We have a 6 here. So now we have a 6 and a 9 here, and we have a 6 and a 9 here. They block here. We have a 6 and a 9 here. They block here. So 6 and 9 go in these two squares. We also have a 1 and a 9 here and a 1 and a 9 here. So a 1 and a 9 must go in two of these three squares. And the 7, of course, in one of these two. This 7 also blocks across here. So one of these is a 7 blocking across. See this? Two 7s block here and here. So here's where the 7 goes. For these two squares, we are going to need a 3 and a 4. And because these are a 3 and a 4, look at the 1, 5, 7, 8 here. We need a 1, 5, 7 to fill the rest of the row. There's a 1 and a 5 and a 7 blocking here. So this must be an 8. Remember how these are an 8 and a 9? Now the 9 must go here and the 8 here. This 9 blocks down, this 9 blocks up. We have two 9s blocking across. So this is a 9. Remember that we had a 6 and a 9 going on here. Now we can enter a 6 here without further analysis. And that, of course, gives us a 6 here. Here, a 2 and a 4. And therefore, this can't be a 2 and a 4. It must be a 3. Now I want you to look at these two squares. They must be a 3 and a 5 because we have a 3 blocking down and across. We also have a 5 blocking down and across. So we know that these two squares must be a 3 and a 5. Therefore, these must be a 2 and a 4. Remember how this is also a 2 and a 4? Now we know that these must be a 1 and a 5. The 5 blocks over, forcing a 1 to go here and a 5 to go here. Now we have a 1 blocking this way and that way, therefore a 1 must go here. And since we know that these are 3 and 4, it follows that this must be a 7. Now a 2 and a 4 for these two squares, and a 2 and a 4 here, 2, 3, and 4 here. Now let's look here. We need to find a 1 and a 5. The 1 blocks up, so here's a 5, here's a 1. These 5s block down, therefore we have a 5 here. 5 blocks across and down, so we have got 5s here or here and here or here. We can place a 9 in this row here because this 9 blocks up. Therefore, one of these is a 9 blocking down. This 9 blocks down. This 9 blocks across. This 9 blocks across. So we have a 9 here. We need an 8 for the same column. The 8 blocks here and here and here. So here goes an 8, which blocks across. This 8 also blocks across. We have an 8 here. We also need a 7 for this column. This 7 blocks here, this 7 blocks here. So here's a 7. And we are back to our good old friends, the 2s and the 4s. They must go in these two squares. We can figure out the 2s and 4s here now, I think, because this 2 blocks down. So one of these must be a 2 blocking over here. So this is the 4, this is a 2. This now has got to be a 2, and we have a 4 and a 3 here. Remember how these are 3 and a 5? We also need a 2 for the same row. The 2 must therefore go here. Here there is no question. It must be a 4, which blocks down here. This 4 blocks down here, so we have a 4 here. Now we can solve the 2 and the 4 here because this 4 blocks across, giving me a 4 either here or here, blocking across. So here's a 2 and here's a 4. This 2 blocks across, this 2 blocks down, here's a 2. These 2's block up, this 2 blocks across, 2 here. 3 and 4 here, 3 and 4 here, 3 and 4 here, by the way, and 3 and 4 here. So if these are 3 and 4, it might be worth a try to have a look at these 4 squares. They can't be 3 and 4. There must be a 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's see, 7, 8, 6, 9, 7, 9, 6, 8. That doesn't seem possible, does it? So we'll have to find another way. By the way, I told you that I solved this puzzle already, but I've already forgotten all about how I solved it, except for the trigger bit, which is upcoming. Let's first deal with these two squares. They must be a 2 and a 5. The 2 blocks down. So this is a 5, this is a 2. Remember the 5, 3 here? Now this is a 3, and this is a 5. 3, 4, 6 here. Don't know what to do about that. But we have now arrived at the point where this puzzle gets complicated unless you know a particular strategy or pattern. In this case, I think it's called an XY wing, or on another channel, I think it's called a bent triple. So I'm going now to input the pencil marks that are relevant for this pattern, and they involve a 6. So I will now enter the 6 candidates everywhere in this grid. These two can be 6s because we have a 6 blocking over and up, right? We can have no 6s here, but we can have a 6 here and here, and we can have a 6 here, here, and here. I think you will agree with me. What else is relevant is this square. This square can be a 7 or an 8 only. You can test this by looking at these 4 empty squares. They must be a 7, 8, 9, and a 1. 1 and 9 can't go here, so this is a 7 or an 8. Another value that is important here is a 7, because the 7 can only go in these two squares in row 9, because we have a 7 blocking here, we have a 7 blocking across. And for good measure, let's input an 8 here, because these two squares can only be a 6 and an 8. We can convince ourselves of this fact by looking at these 4 empty squares. They must be a 6, 8, 4, and a 3. And we already know that this is a 4, 3, and this is a 4, 3. Therefore, this square cannot be a 4, 3. It can only be a 6 or an 8. So now we are all set for what is going to happen. Let's examine the XY or the bent triple wing. And it involves these squares here. It's not an X-wing, I should mention. It just looks like an X-wing, but it's not. What's important here, and it's really, I would say, nearly impossible to spot without using pencil marks. And I've only input the pencil marks that are relevant for this strategy or this pattern. So this is a pivot cell, and we want to keep an eye on this square and on this square. This is a bent triple, by the way, and it's identified by being 3 squares that together form a 6, 8, and a 7. You see, we have a 6, 8 here, we have a 7, 8 here, we have a 6, 7 here. Now let's assume that this here is a 7. Then it follows that this must be a 6. Okay? And in this case, neither of these can be a 6. Because if this is a 6, this must be a 6. Clear, right? Now let's assume this is not a 7, but that this is an 8. If this is an 8, then this must be a 6. And if this is a 6, this can't be a 6. So it follows that whichever value ends up being the correct one for this square, 7 or 8, it turns out that this square under no circumstance can be a 6. So we can remove the 6 candidate from this square. And now let's have a look at the other possibilities for this square. They are 3 and 4, because we need a 3, 4, and a 6 for these 3 squares. So this is a 3 or a 4. We can enter those now. And we also know that this is a 3 or a 4, because we figured that out very early in the puzzle. And that means that this square here has got to be a 6 or an 8. Okay? And that means we can remove a 6 candidate from this square. And now let's go back and look at these squares here. We said that they could be a 6 and 8, both of them, but they can't, because we have a 6 blocking over here. And that leaves us with a single, namely an 8. And from here on out, the puzzle solves itself, more or less. Because this 8 blocks across, this 8 blocks up, we have an 8 here. This 7 blocks across, we have a 7 here. This 7 blocks down, this 7 blocks across, here's a 7. Up here, we need a 1 and a 9. The 9 blocks up, so here's a 1, here's a 9. This 9 blocks across, these 2 9s block up, here's a 9. 3 and 4 here, 3 and 4 here, 3 and 4 here, 3 and 4 here. So guess what? Here's a 6. And we have a 6 here. Blocking over, therefore we have a 6 here. 3 and 4 here as well, but the 4 now blocks, so here's a 3, here's a 4, here's a 3. 3 blocks up, here's a 3. Therefore we have a 4 here, and a 3 here. The square must also be a 4, and this must be a 3. The last square here is a 1. This is quite a wonderful solution that would trip up most people, and it also tripped up me when I was looking for an easy solution, because it does take a while before one discovers the XY wing, which is a very nice little touch towards the end of the puzzle. Thank you, Julian Locke, for providing this puzzle for us, and I hope you come back here again soon. Bye for now.